Hey, Harry. Don't freak out. But I know we've been working on part 3 for several days now, but we have to throw it in the trash.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we got to start over. I just got off the phone with the NELK boys. There's so much to this story. It's convoluted, competing interests. It's just... we got to scrap it and start over. This is the video you are going to see about NELK, PrivateBet, and Wizza. But we've learned new evidence which has changed our perspective on this, not necessarily making anyone look better, more like complicating the story and making it more interesting. So this is us starting over and trying to make sense of a bunch of competing voices.
Me, Steve will do it LLC, and the NELK Boys Enterprises, bro, like no one else, bro. We're not gonna take millions of dollars to our fans ever, bro. We won't take any sponsorship money, nothing, bro. Like,
hey guys, in the studio at night here, just had to scrap the 3rd video and restart. I mean, look, it's gonna happen when you're doing something like this. Sometimes the truth isn't what you expect. Then other times the truth is confusing or conflicting. Because some of y'all, hate to say it, have lied to me. And let me say, stop.
Get some help.
No, but the point is that everyone in this story, honestly, it seems like they're trying to make themselves look as good as possible. And it's hard to know who's telling the truth. Like, it's almost like my job is a real life game of Among Us. Who is the imposter telling me lies? But we'll get to that, and we will catch those people. For now, I just want to catch you up to speed. And last thing, if you enjoy these videos, please pump the Stockzilla by subscribing. It's free. Might pay monthly dividends. Who knows? You know, one could say it's a gamble. Either way, let's go to the board and catch you up to speed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, in the last video, we explained how these deals work with Roobet. These influencers get paid millions of dollars to stream themselves gambling, but they're not actually playing with real money. They're gambling with fake money coming from a sponsor that they all call Howie.
We just lost 15 racks. All right, whoa! Let's call Howie. That was a test. You might need to call Howie. You might need to really call Howie off screen, because that was.
Well, let's see what Howie's going to do. They just lost 15 racks. If you look at their Bitcoin wallet here, they're sitting at a toasty $0, okay? God damn. Don't worry, guys. Howie comes in clutch. Look at that Bitcoin wallet up top. They're back to playing Crash. Same exact stream that we were watching. God damn.
They're constantly asking this guy for more money because they don't want to gamble a dime of their own money. We literally traced the Bitcoin deposit wallets of these guys. They haven't ever put anything in.
Dude, Aiden Ross didn't put a dime of his money into that Bitcoin wallet address. How much money does Aiden Ross have in the account? $300,000. Ladies and gentlemen, where did he put the money in?
And of course, not only are they no stakes gambling while pretending to high stakes gamble, remember, because they're making millions of dollars on these deals, these influencers' lives are basically controlled by Roobet. Howie says jump, these influencers say how high. Literally.
Yo, Aiden, can you show me how to hop like a kangaroo while he's icy? Bro, why do you want me to do that, Howie? You're weird as bro.
What the did he ask for this time?
What's the hop, bro?
If Howie says fly to Mexico, you better fly to Mexico.
We're gonna be happy. We're going to Mexico.
Now that we're at this lavish, luxurious villa, this other country, I can tell you why we got it, why we got the jet, why we did all this stuff.
Why?
We have officially partnered with Roobet.
It's actually quite bizarre to watch all these cool influencers dancing like puppets for Roobet, like a weird version of Squid Game. Do a strange task for lots of money.
Apparently, Howie has a challenge for us.
No, he's gonna make you do a kangaroo sound. I bet you. I'm out of this one.
A kangaroo
I'm stepping out.
That sounded like a kangaroo to me.
All I gotta say, the money must be very good for these guys to be doing that. But, of course, we know all that glitters is not gold. Sometimes these deals fall apart. And it turns out this was the case with the NELK boys and Roobet and Wizza. See, many people noticed when the NELK boys suddenly went from streaming every day on Roobet and being influencers on Wizza, their giveaway sister company, to suddenly being wiped off the website with no warning. None of the NELK guys, except for Steve will do it, remain. Remember, our boy Alan is supposedly the #1 fan of Full Sin.
these are the #1 fans of Full Send / Happy Dad.
Well, it all started falling apart with the giveaway of a Ferrari sponsored by Wizza that seemed too good to be true.
I think it just seems like a scam because it's too epic. Yeah, it's too good to be true, but it is true.
Ugh, famous last words, huh? I don't know how to say this delicately, but this thing was a disaster. Part 4 will explain a little bit more, but this thing looked completely rigged. And all of this caused an entire subreddit to be born called r/fullscam. And this subreddit became devoted to cataloging NELK's missteps in the meticulous and obsessive way that only Reddit really can. Now, this is where the story diverges actually a little bit between what NELK says happened and what Reddit says happened. The full scam page, for the most part, thinks that NELK and Wizza were in on the Ferrari giveaway disaster. NELK denies this, though. They said they had no control and were working on it as part of a standard promotion, saying that afterwards, they immediately cut ties with Wizza because they suspected something was up. I, of course, asked for proof. They sent me this. This is from the Full Send team on June 30th. Apparently, they were mad because Wizza had charged their international fans for raffle tickets for this Ferrari, even though there was no chance of anyone outside of the US winning. They said, quote, NELK has received numerous complaints that its fans paid to enter for a drawing on Wizza even though they were actually ineligible, which resulted in them feeling scammed. NELK's lawyers have advised that this was likely non-compliant with applicable law, and accordingly, NELK would prefer that everyone be promptly reimbursed. And then a little bit later, the breakup text. So NELK will not be able to proceed negotiating the Wizza or Roobet agreements further given the relationship between Wizza and Roobet and the recent developments. Wow. According to NELK, they cut ties early with Wizza and Roobet, and honestly, that was probably a smart move, although it looks like not everyone was on the same page, because obviously Steve Will Do It didn't leave Wizza and Roobet. And we also know Lucas here also continued streaming on Twitch with Roobet. So it seems like there are definitely some outside deals going on, which will become interesting a little bit later. Now, the other interesting thing we learn here is that when NELK backed out of Wizza, they were also out of Roobet. NELK told me this is because Roobet and Wizza were package deals for them, which if you ask me, is weird. Why is a giveaway company and a offshore gambling site tying their promotions together? I mean, yes, they're owned by the same people, but it doesn't exactly mix. That'd be like a weapons dealer buying their firearms to also having to volunteer at the homeless shelter, or a smoking company making you adopt a kitten for every pack you pick up. I mean, it's a little weird, right? If what NELK is saying is true. Now, I did talk to another few influencers who said their deals worked a little bit different and were separate. But either way, it raises a few eyebrows about where the money might be coming from for all these extravagant giveaways. I mean, listen, this might be the time for the tinfoil hat here, but go with me. What better way to get money for a McLaren that you're going to raffle off to your fans than from a lucrative, thriving, and maybe even offshore business you're running? Not accusing anyone here. I just want to say that if it were me, that would make sense, right? But it's important to say Wizza denies the possibility of this completely. They said, quote, Wizza and Roobet do not package their expenses. The two companies are separate entities and pay their own expenses. No one is concealing the overlap on the marketing team and the relationships they bring to the table. So there you go. Take it for what it is. I just thought it was weird that for NELK, the deals were tied together. And speaking of NELK, people were still upset about the Ferrari regardless of what was happening. And people quickly found out, looking behind the scenes, that it wasn't the first time they tried to give away a car.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the deal? Is that yours? How do you get this Lambo?
We teamed up with this company called Moose, and they just approached us. They're like, yo, we got a full send Lambo. We want to team up with you guys.
What's the company that, like, how do you just get a Lambo? I'm confused.
They just hit us up. Moose is
Like
this company called
it's like
Moose.
a charity company. They bought the Lambo, and then we push it through our fans, and then they buy entries. And then
So it's like $1
someone
entries.
wins.
You can buy as many as you want.
Yeah, basically the exact same thing. Fans paid money for tickets to a raffle, and nobody really knows if the drawing was fair. Or in this case, if it even happened. No one knows what happened to the full send Lambo. It looks like the company Moose Gives was just a fly-by-night company that folded up and nobody got the car. Now, once again, I asked NELK about this, and they responded, quote, we basically got effed over in almost the same sense as we did here with Wizza. This is a lesson to never partner with a company to give away anything ever again. They then talk a little bit about the agency they were working with at a time and ultimately say, the same as this Wizza shit, we really know as much as the fans if this giveaway was done legitimately or not. Shortly after, we fired WME for obvious reasons. And then they finally say, quote, we've done barely any brand deals and it always comes with the same type of BS. Lesson learned for good this time. So that's their statement. Oh, and they also say that they were only paid $15K apparently for this deal as well. And if that's the case, I think they should have just come forward and addressed this stuff sooner. But speaking frankly, this kind of thing, this giveaway thing is kind of like a fool me once, fool me twice situation. You know what they say about that, don't you? You better not fool me a third time. But of course, it gets worse. Yeah, because right after this disastrous promotion with Wizza and Roobet, they literally start promoting another gambling casino.
PrivateBet has a pretty sweet deal for you guys right now. They actually have an 100% deposit bonus guarantee up to $500. All you have to do is use my code Kyle. Make an account on privatebet.com and DM him your username, and we're going to give away $250 to 100 people. So all you guys on privatebet.com, $250 each, privatebet.com. We'll be doing this we'll do this a lot.
Now, this is totally weird for a lot of reasons. First of all, and obviously, nobody's heard of this website. Like when you look it up, it looks a little bit like brand new, and that's basically because it is. Its offshore parent company, XYZ Entertainment, as it's called, was created May 25th, 2021. This thing's like a little baby. So why promote it? I mean, why is a company like NELK not going with an established casino instead of just like a brand new one like this? And this immediately got people thinking, there's got to be more to this story. And this got even more damning when some social media accounts called @Blackjack were found being used for PrivateBet. Here they are right here. These have been since privated. And the reason they were privated is because they were tied back by a YouTuber named Harrison to people from NELK. Apparently, NELK's president, the president of Full Send, apparently owns those social media accounts. The obvious implication here being, of course, that PrivateBet was owned or tied to NELK more than previously known, which would obviously make sense of the reason that they're promoting this brand new casino. This was further confirmed on the Blackjack Facebook page, which was previously known as PrivateBet, and before that known as Blackjack Ventures, and before that known as Full Send Blackjack. Now, I would show you some of Harrison's video uncovering all of this, but unfortunately, surprise, surprise, it was copyright striked by none other than NELK. Now, I contacted NELK about this because, of course, this seems extremely fishy, and they told me, hey, there's been a misunderstanding. They don't own PrivateBet at all, but they know who does, but refuse to say. But apparently, they were working out a marketing deal with PrivateBet and a social media deal. That's the reason their socials were connected, was because apparently NELK owned some gambling social media accounts at Blackjack, and they were going to let them use them in exchange for a lucrative deal. So PrivateBet was going to use @Blackjack, which was owned by Full Send, and Full Send was also going to promote them as a casino. This was the story that I was told. But they insisted that they never owned any part of PrivateBet. Now, of course, I asked to see this marketing deal that was done, and they told me they'd love to show it to me, but it doesn't exist. They never actually finished the deal, which I found a little bit hard to believe. NELK's story is essentially they promoted a gambling company offshore without owning it and without a deal talking terms. And this is right after getting burned by another company that they didn't own. Does anybody else think this is kind of a weird story? I mean, NELK would tell you that they only promoted it for a few days before pulling out of the deal, and they say they're not going to do this any longer. But I know a lot of influencers, and almost none of them would promote a brand or product without any kind of deal first in writing, especially not a brand as big as NELK. You're going to promote something without even a deal sketched out on a napkin? I don't know. I just don't buy it. And I told the guys at NELK that I thought that there was something I wasn't being told. Because what doesn't make sense here is that NELK keeps saying they've learned their lesson and need to stop promoting stuff they don't control, right? Like that was the lesson with Wizza. They didn't control it and they got burned. That was the lesson with Moose Gives. They didn't control it, they got burned. And then their story with PrivateBet is that they don't control it. Now, when I told NELK that basically I wasn't buying it They said, look, we just didn't want to jeopardize a more lucrative casino deal in the future with an actual US casino that's regulated. But that's the story. You can make up your mind for what you want to believe. I just want to present all the facts we have here. I just personally, the story doesn't make sense to me. But around this time, I was finding NELK a little hard to believe. Something even more unbelievable happened. A supposed NELK whistleblower suddenly appeared on Reddit on full scam, promising to expose them. The post is entitled, My Experience Formerly Working for Steve Will Do It and NELK, posted by this guy, Zesty Close. The two giant claims I want to draw your attention to is, one, that PrivateBet is owned by Kyle and the Shahidi brothers, and two, that the giveaway with the Ferrari was rigged for a stunt. I mean, wow, this could be big. And of course, I instantly reached out to this person. I said, are you willing to talk? And quote, what proof do you have that the Ferrari is rigged? He said, hello, I would love to help, but I just received an email from the Full Send team with a breach of contract. Luckily, they have not determined who has written the Reddit forum, as I worked in the Full Send and Steve's accounting, and another worker had left the day before me. And at this point, it looked like maybe this guy's the real deal, but he can't talk because he's under NDA. So the question is, how do we get him to talk? And as you guys know, meanwhile, I'm in contact with NELK. So I start to hatch an idea of maybe how we can do this. So my plan was, I went to NELK and I said, hey, obviously there's this guy on Reddit, you guys probably have seen it, who says he used to work for you, he's exposing you guys. Is he telling the truth? They say no. I say, prove it. And of course they said, how? So I tell him, look, if he's not a real employee, release him from his NDA. If he's just a fake employee, he's just using this NDA as an excuse not to prove he is who he says he is, right? And at this point, I got to tell you guys, there was a pause on the call as I'm basically asking them to waive their rights to an NDA. They discussed and they said, all right, done. Any NDA on this whistleblower of NELK is null and void. Perfect. So I go back to our boy, Zesty Close, and I say, hey, I just got off the phone with the NELK boys. They say you're actually completely in the clear to talk with me. So no breach of contract to tell me everything you know. If you are who you say you are, you have no fear of backlash. John and Kyle have cleared you to tell me what you know. And this is when our guy, our supposed whistleblower, Zesty Close, it's his turn to get quiet. He doesn't respond. And suddenly, his post, which was highly upvoted, is deleted. I asked, why? Hello, why'd you delete your post? He responded, hey, sorry, these last days have been really busy for me. Sorry if I take a while to respond. And I didn't. It got deleted by someone else. Don't know who, though. Yeah, I'm starting to get a little suspicious here. So I followed up for several days, and the guy just ghosted, right? This supposed whistleblower turned out to be completely fake. And I gotta say, partially in defense of the NELK boys here, like, look, get mad at them for the Wizza stuff, Moose Gives, or the PrivateBet story of theirs. But don't make up stuff pretending to be an ex-employee. Like, if you're that desperate to expose someone that you fabricate working with them, aren't you worse than the people you're exposing? I don't know. I just wanted to say that. But despite this being cleared up, I'm still not done with NELK here. Because believe it or not, we still have one final piece of the puzzle, and it comes from Lucas, one of the NELK boys, also known as Gaspo Show on Twitch. And by the way, this guy, the second we mentioned we were doing a story on Roobet, all his videos on YouTube and Twitch were deleted. I wonder why. Same with Steve Will Do It, by the way. But anyways, remember we said earlier that Lucas and Steve continued to stream on Roobet well after June 30th when supposedly NELK broke off the contract, and apparently it was because they had their own deal. Well, Lucas apparently was up to some sketchy stuff, according to a former moderator who provided extensive evidence and accused Lucas of rigging stream giveaways with Roobet. That's right. If you don't know, one of Roobet's big things is all the streamers apparently give away a portion of what they won at the end of their stream. It's the reason that Roobet streamers are always talking about how much money they're giving away. As Lucas explains, all you have to do is create an account with Roobet and you too can win.
Make sure you guys are using promo code Lucas up here. LUCAS. Collect that shit. Make a new account. Do what you gotta do. Helps you guys out for the giveaways a whole lot. So if you guys want free money, man, all you gotta do is that.
Free money. That's right. These guys, if you use their code, they're going to give you free money. But apparently that's false because allegedly Lucas was scamming people by not giving away money randomly to his viewers, but instead giving it away to himself and his moderators. Here's how it apparently worked. Moderators would create a series of shell Roobet accounts, brand new accounts like this. Accounts like Ricks and Morty, Icy Drops, Merch Buyer. Several accounts just like these would be created all on the same day, would be fresh accounts, and then would happen to win the giveaways of Lucas, but they were really controlled by his moderators who were feeding him names. The way it worked was allegedly one of the moderators, Nate, would send Lucas names ahead of time, and Lucas would select the names that he knew his guys controlled. According to a statement from the whistleblower, quote, Nate had set a certain type of order in Lucas's streams. He became the main guy controlling things like Lucas's TikTok account and making sure staff were paid. Things stayed like this for 3 weeks. Nate would message us asking us for our Roobet names and making sure we would be paid. And at first, I didn't bat an eye or anything. And this guy went so far as to actually send me the blockchain wallet where these accounts were winning on July 30th, for example, when all these shell accounts were created. As you can see, here are some winnings on July 30th coming from the Roobet hot wallet itself. And allegedly, Lucas not only paid his Twitch mods with this, he would also get a cut of these supposed giveaways he was doing. Now, of course, I confronted Lucas on this, wanting, of course, to give him the chance to comment. He refused, and instead I just heard that he no longer wants to stream gambling anymore. That about figures. Now, what does all this mean, right? I'm throwing a lot of facts at you guys. Let's put it together for a second, please. As we found out, there's a lot going on, right? Contracts being broken, fake NDAs, fake whistleblowers, NELK story about PrivateBet, which sounds fake to me, and of course, Lucas's fake giveaways. I think the common thread here is kind of clear. But more than that, I really think what we're seeing is a group who can't decide what their ethical line in the sand is. On the one hand, some of NELK says they're done with Wizza after they suspect them of scamming their international fans. While at the same time, other members of NELK are still their #1 promoter. You see one part of NELK say they're done with Roobet, while the other part of NELK is busy running a giveaway scam on Roobet. You have one part of NELK saying they're done with sketchy brand partners they don't control, and then they go out and promote this. Supposedly, another brand they don't control because they never had a deal worked out. I think it's honestly sad because without all this sketchy stuff, I think NELK could probably ride this full sin brand into the sunset, making millions of dollars off merch and happy dad dollars. But instead, it seems like they can't keep their members from reaching their hands in the cookie jar. And if they keep doing that, the name full scam is eventually gonna stick. So what will NELK choose? I don't know. But I think what NELK does next will determine a lot.
Now, Coffee, is there a way where it's like you just make this like right?